All right. Am I fancy yet? Am I fancy yet, chat? We got this nice new setup. Am I fancy yet? I think I might be. What's going on? I saw some names. I saw Doc in here. I saw Nicholas in here. Clickbait's in here. What's going on, guys? Very fancy, I know. It's almost like it's a pre-made theme that I'm using from Streamlabs. So we're just going to hang out a little bit today. I know normally I do these for about an hour, but I'm just going to be on here for however long. Could be less, could be longer. I don't know. We're just going to hang out. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on today. We already had LeBron opt out of his deal, which I'm going to make a video on, or I've already made it. I just got to edit it. I've already recorded that video, so that'll be out later today. I feel like DeAndre Jordan might get traded today, depending on if he opts in or out, but that probably will happen later. Plenty of Kawhi stuff to talk about. The Spurs apparently wished him a happy birthday on Twitter. People were having fun with that. So whatever you guys want to talk about, man, I'm down. I'm down to just hang out. I know it's a little bit of a weird timing. It's my time. It just hit noon. But like I said, I kind of want to just hang out. I didn't want it to be like a set, hour-long stream. And I know that a lot of people that watch are not from the States and their timing can be weird. So I wanted to try and do one earlier in the day when I had a day to be able to do it, because a lot of times when I stream in the evening, you guys might not be able to watch. So let's see. So obviously you guys saw that Bron opted out. And like I said, I'm going to talk a lot about that in today's video, kind of what that means, what teams that might be helping, what teams that might be hurting, or could have completely, knocked them out of the race for LeBron. I never really thought that he wasn't going to opt out, but there were some interesting scenarios that were developing where if he did opt into his deal, it makes Houston a lot easier. It makes Boston a possibility. Just any team, really, that he could have been traded to. But obviously he ended up opting out. And to me, it makes it a 3-team race. Again, I'm not going to talk that much about it because I don't want to just give away my entire video coming out later. But to me, it makes it a 3-team race between LA, Cleveland, and Philly. And really, it's basically 2. I don't think Philly's really in it. The Colangelo thing's weird. You don't really hear a ton about them. It's basically the Lakers and Cleveland. And Cleveland probably has a better shot now than they have at any point in the year because it's basically just them and one other team. So that's just kind of for me. Oh, we got someone from Greece. Okay. Yeah, let me know where you guys are coming from. I'd love to know. Where you guys are watching from. Yeah, you did last time ask me about the Spurs last time on stream. If Kawhi was still there and Kawhi was committed, I could see it as a possibility. Obviously, Bron would have had to, more than likely, he would have had to opt in and be traded. But I don't think the Spurs are a possibility now. Okay, Serbia. Oh, what's up, Doc? I didn't see you first. How's it going? Czech Republic, Toronto. That's crazy. Scotland, Rome, England, Pennsylvania, Hungary. That's crazy, y'all. From Australia, New Jersey. That's crazy. There's so many different people, so many different places people are watching from. That's nuts. Radar says, how do you think Aaron Gordon could help the Pacers? I did see that. I don't know if you guys saw that. The Pacers declined Lance Stephenson's option, which at first was a little bit strange, but I guess they're just really trying to open up as much cap space as possible. I think they have like 20 now, maybe like 20 million. And Aaron Gordon apparently is the guy they want to get, which to me is, for a team like the Pacers, I mean, they've got Oladipo, they've got Miles Turner, they've got Sabonis, they might have Thaddeus Young, but they need to take some bigger swings, right? Just like any of these middle tier teams to really try and take a big step. And Aaron Gordon's not a bad direction to go in if that's your goal, to really just swing for a high upside guy. I mean, 20 million's a lot, but that's probably what it's going to take, or somewhere about there, to get him away from Orlando. So I definitely think that he can help them. And if you're the Pacers, again, you've got to try and do something to get yourself to the upper tier of the conference, up there with Boston and Philly. So I do like that fit as well, because you've already got established bigs there, and Aaron Gordon can kind of slide into the 4 spot where I think he definitely should be playing. And I'd like to see that. I don't know that Orlando has necessarily been a great situation for him or anybody. No offense to Orlando fans, but it hasn't been a great developmental situation for most young players that have gone there. And I would like to see Aaron Gordon in a different situation. And I think Indiana would be a cool one. Chris says, why are the Mavs trying to trade for DJ when they can just sign him in free agency? I think I have to check. I'm not 100% sure how much space the Mavs have, but I would imagine that has something to do with it. Let me check, actually. But it has to be either they don't have enough space or they just don't want to have to compete with anybody else in free agency, right? Like they just want to try and get DJ and trade for him without having to compete with other teams to sign him in free agency. Let me check on the Mavericks contracts on Basketball Reference. I would imagine it's one of those two things. I do think that's where he's going to end up, though. I think today or maybe even late tonight, DeAndre Jordan will be a Maverick, honestly. So this summer, yeah, I mean, they have 30 without their draft picks, so they probably have like 25. So they have enough to sign him outright, but again, it's probably just they don't want to have to compete with anyone else. I just looked it up, yeah. This is going to happen so much today. Someone's in chat trying to tell me, breaking news that someone got traded. This is going to happen so much today. I have my phone right here, okay, and I'll get a Bleach Report Wise notification if anything happens. Someone's trying to tell me in chat that Kawhi's going to Cleveland or something. Yeah, so Jada was talking about them trading Wes Matthews for DJ, but it doesn't seem like the Clippers are interested in Wes Matthews. At least that's what I was reading yesterday. So I don't really know who the Mavs would trade to get DJ. I mean, obviously anybody that the Clippers could get back would be more than they would get normally, and they don't want DJ anymore. It doesn't seem like. I can't think of a ton of guys on the Mavs that the Mavs would be willing to part with and the Clippers would want, and the Mavs have already traded next year's pick to the Hawks. So I don't know what it could be, but I would imagine that deal is going to go down today. Let me look. Who do they have on the roster they could maybe trade? It's really Wes Matthews, $18 million expiring, which saves the Clippers. What's DeAndre's? It saves the Clippers a couple million this year because DeAndre is definitely making more than that this year. Although DeAndre could just opt out. Dwight Powell is really the only other guy. He's making $9 million next year. He has an option for $10 million the following. He's 26 years old. It's really the only guy. Except maybe a sign and trade for Nerlens Noel. I don't know, but I think it's going to happen today. Yeah, Sam, that's what I just said. Maybe Powell. If they trade for DJ, what free agents can they sign? The way I'm looking at it, again, I have it pulled up on my laptop. The way I'm looking at it, the Mavericks can really only get one guy. DJ's making 20. Unless they trade, if they trade him for Wes Matthews, then it's basically a wash, and they could get someone else as well, which wouldn't be a bad idea. But again, I don't think the Clippers are interested in Wes Matthews. Now, if DJ opts out or something and they sign him outright, then they could sign DJ. They also have a chance at Boogie, in my mind. I think the Mavericks are going to use their... Try not to shake my webcam. I think the Mavericks are going to definitely try and get somebody. They're trying to make the playoffs. Like, they got Luka and Dennis, obviously, so they build for the future, but they're not trying to win 30 games again next year. It seems to me like they're trying to sign some people this year with their cap space. They'll have a ton of space again next year as well. Especially if they don't trade Wes Matthews, his deal will come off. They can get more guys next year. Harrison Barnes' deal has a player option in next summer, so they're trying to get somebody. Is kind of the indication I'm seeing. What's up, Chewy? How's it going, bud? Mavs need to sign Tony Romo. Get him out of the booth. I actually love Tony Romo announcing games, so I think he's awesome. Mike, are you a Sixers fan? Asking all the Sixers questions. That's true. Chris is talking about maybe Julius Randle to the Mavs. Like, there's a lot of interesting players out there, especially in an offseason in which there's not as much money out there, so you might be able to get a bargain. Maybe, I mean, it seems like the Bulls aren't super interested in bringing back Zach LaVine. Julius Randle's out there, Jabari Parker's out there, Boogie's out there, potentially DJ, Aaron Gordon. Obviously, most of those guys are restricted, but if you really wanted to, you could probably get some of those guys. And there's definitely some moves to be made for these 7-8 teams that have cap space. You just got to make sure you're picking the right ones. Diffuse, thank you, bud. Diffuse YouTube, thank you for the $1.99 donation. I appreciate it. Thank you. Let me see. Can I get this to work? I had alerts up. Not alerts. I had an event box. Hold on one second. Event list. Is that working? It is. Yeah, it's got a little bit of history from my Twitch stuff, but there you are. You're up there. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, Waffles, what's up, bud? Good to see you. LOL says, will Mo Bamba's career be ruined in Orlando? I think there's a trade coming there somewhere. They've got Biyombo, they've got Vucevic, especially if they bring back Aaron Gordon. They've got too many bigs, which has pretty much been an issue in Orlando for a long time. So I don't know about his career being ruined. I think they definitely need to make some moves to prioritize his development. Because, I mean, Vucevic, if I'm even pronouncing his name correctly, is definitely a good offensive player. Biyombo's, a pretty good defender. But, I mean, Mo Bamba has a chance to be that guy, right? Like, he has a chance to be the player that you need him to be to kind of put your franchise in the correct direction. So if they want to really take advantage of that, I would say they need to make some moves so as not to, quote-unquote, ruin his career, as you put it. Yeah, so Jabari's talking about, he said they might trade Lonzo to get more assets in the Kawhi trade. And Lonzo's kind of the weird piece in this because there were reports that he was involved in the Spurs talks, but now it seems like he's not mentioned in any of them. Like the Spurs aren't interested. But it also kind of seemed like if Bron was going to show up, then he didn't want Lonzo on the team, either because of LeVar, because of his play on the court. I don't know. But it seems like the Spurs don't want Lonzo. Bron doesn't want Lonzo there. So I wouldn't be shocked if they traded him away, but I have no idea really like how that's going to go, if he's going to go to San Antonio, if what's going to happen with Lonzo. But he's just kind of in a weird middle ground. And Josh Hart's tweets last night weren't helping. I don't know if you saw. He was tweeting, oh, tonight's going to be crazy, blah, blah. Apparently he was talking about the Drake album, but I don't know. It seems a little suspicious to me that he's tweeting that. Yeah, Clickbait says if the Spurs don't want Lonzo, then you don't trade him. I know, it's just like, I mean, if Bron says I'm coming to LA, I just don't want to play with Lonzo, I mean, you trade him, right? Like 100% you trade him. To me, at least, you trade Lonzo to somebody. Someone wants him. It's not like he doesn't have any value, just the Spurs don't want him, apparently. Kenneth, I actually just watched the part 2 of the Paul George thing last night because I was actually watching Tim the Tapman stream, and someone said in his stream chat that he was like in it in the background from the Pro-Am, and he was. I thought that was really interesting. I wish it was longer, right? Like I wish the little featured pieces were longer than like 6 minutes. But I thought the part where they were like showing the presentation with him and his agent, like going over all the contract situations, and he might not take a full max. He might take like a 2+1 or a 3+1 with LA or whoever, talking about all those contract situations so he can hit the market again when he's 30. All that stuff was very interesting to me. And then, yeah, him talking to D-Wade was interesting, and D-Wade, talking to him about his wine and everything. It was really interesting pieces. I don't think there's any way he ends up in Miami, but I think it's a good idea for him to take advice from D-Wade because as well as it turned out for those guys to win 2 championships, it certainly wasn't an easy situation, and that's definitely someone you should look to for guidance if that's something you're considering doing, leaving a team, creating a super team. Definitely a good guy to talk to, but no, I don't think he's going to end up in Miami. Raccoon says, heard the Lakers didn't offer Brandon Ingram. Thoughts? I've heard so many things. Like there's been so many reports with the LA stuff. I would imagine if they're going to get Kawhi, Brandon Ingram has to be in the deal, right? I mean, if you're not trading Brandon Ingram, then you're trading Lonzo, who apparently the Spurs don't want, Kuzma, Josh Hart, and some picks. I don't know. I would imagine Brandon Ingram has to be in any deal, but that's just me. And I would not be upset if I was the Spurs, because I think they can develop him into something really, really valuable. And if they start getting picks, maybe not the Lakers picks, but maybe picks from other teams, maybe in a 3-team situation, you start to get somewhere close to equal value for what Kawhi was, not this past year, but the previous, which I think is what they're aiming for. Also, guys, I think this is an all-time high viewership on one of my live streams. I'm reading up over 160, which is, especially for noon on a Friday. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is awesome. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so Super Saiyan, like, even though Super is saying that the Cavs could still do a sign and trade, even though Bron didn't opt in, which is correct, but it would have made it a lot easier had he opted in today, because then negotiating a sign and trade and the contract numbers, and it just gets very complicated. It would have made it a lot easier had he opted in today, and if that was something he was interested in, being traded to Boston or Houston, then he probably would have opted in today if that was really something he was keying in on. So it seems to me like it's the Lakers or Cleveland right now. I would love for something to happen on stream today. Like, that would be cool for a Kawhi trade or DJ to get traded or opt in or out. That would be cool. Chewy, I'm assuming that's one of the 2 Nets picks that you're asking about. And really, my opinion on the Nets picks is just they didn't want to have any salary on the books this year, basically. They're just trying to draft and stash. Honestly, don't know a ton about the 2 guys that they drafted. Colby, yeah, I am. I'm born and raised in Raleigh, bud. So if you can't tell, North Carolina, NC State in the background, Carolina Panthers, I am. Yeah, born and raised in Raleigh. Jabari, I don't know about and Radar says the same thing. I want LeBron to go to the West. I just want him to get out of the East. And then Jabari says East is going to be terrible next year. I don't think it's going to be that bad. Like, you're going to have Philly, you're going to have Boston. Even if Bron's not there, it might even be more interesting. Philly's going to be good. Boston's going to be good. Philly might be really good if Bron goes there. But I still think the East is going to be good. And I think in terms of a team that didn't have LeBron James on the roster, this Boston team next year has a better chance of beating the Warriors than any team in the East without LeBron has had in a long time. They've got Kyrie, they've got Gordon Hayward, they've got a ton of wings. We've talked about this, but I really have high hopes for that Celtics roster as long as they stay healthy. Knocking on some wood. I think they have a better chance to defeat the Warriors or Houston or LA, whoever it ends up being, the favorites in the West. They have a better chance of bringing a championship to the East than any team that doesn't have LeBron on the roster in a long time. LOL, I don't know about DeRozan. The Raptors, I think, are kind of in that spot now where they're just going to stay put and they're going to probably run it back for another year, and then next summer, what might be the blow it up here. The only thing I could maybe see with DeRozan is potentially a trade to LA, either the Clippers or the Lakers, but I don't see it to be all that likely just because of the way their contracts are set up. I don't think it's going to happen for any of the Toronto guys to get moved. So I would say probably not. Go Pack. Yes, Zach. Appreciate that. Here we go. I don't know. HH says, after watching part 2 of the PG documentary, which team do you think he's leaning towards? Part of, I think, my webcam's shaking again. Part of me when I was watching that was thinking that, he and the production staff, how it was going, were trying to make it intentionally more interesting. You know what I mean? he kept mentioning other teams, right? Like he kept talking about the possibility of joining the Lakers, possibility of joining the Thunder, and then he was like, oh, I mean, there's other teams as well. And just the way it was framed made me think that it was definitely a goal to bring interest around it, obviously. But I mean interest of like all these other teams could be interested, right? To try and make it as interesting as possible. But I still think he's going to LA. Now, having said that, part of the video today is talking about the fact that Kawhi, and I tweeted this yesterday, the day before, the fact that the Lakers are so aggressively, it seems like, trying to trade for Kawhi makes me think that PG might not be a sure thing, because basically what it seems like, at least in the reports that I've seen, is that Bron needs someone to jump on the ship first. He needs someone to be there before he signs on to become a Laker. He needs Paul George, Kawhi, someone, right? He needs someone else to be there first. And if the Lakers thought that PG was as sure of a thing as I've thought it was this whole time, then they would not be as aggressive in trying to trade for Kawhi as they are right now. Reason being, if they trade for Kawhi and they sign Bron, they can't sign PG to a max. They only have like $15 million left. I ran the numbers yesterday. I tweeted about it yesterday. So if they're trying to trade for Kawhi, they can only get one more max guy, and you would imagine it would be Bron. So to me, that says that they're legitimately concerned that PG isn't going to be a Laker this year, and that there have been reports that he's wavering on his desire to be a Laker, as well as seriously considering returning to OKC. I personally would think that that's definitely a mistake, but the more you think about it, if they're trying to trade for Kawhi before free agency starts or before any of these guys decide where they're going, then it tells me that they don't think PG is a sure thing, because if they thought it was a sure thing, they would wait, they would sign PG, Kawhi, Bron would more than likely jump on, and then they would trade for Kawhi and they'd have all three, right? Assuming that all Bron needs is one of those two guys to be there first. They would get PG, they get Bron, they get Kawhi. The fact that that's not happening tells me that PG going back to Oklahoma City is a legitimate possibility and could even be the favorite in his mind right now. I still think that he's going to end up in LA just because that's what he's talked about for so long. That's what I've predicted for forever since the season was over. But I think it's more likely than any other time that he could end up going back to OKC. Clickbait says, do you think the Spurs will intentionally screw over the Lakers by trading Kawhi to the Clippers? Would he stay with the Clippers? Because I know he wants to play in LA, but would he stay with the Clippers? Or is it just the Lakers? I'm pretty sure the report said that he wanted to be in LA regardless. I did see some tweets though that said like Adam Silver should just force the Spurs to trade Kawhi to the Lakers to make up for David Stern vetoing the Chris Paul trade. I don't think he's going to go to the Clippers. No, I think if he's going to be traded, it's probably going to be the Lakers, just because I don't think Boston's giving up the assets that the Spurs want, and I don't really think that anybody else is in on it. And I don't think any of them really honestly believe that Kawhi is going to be with them for longer than a year, so there's really no point in them bidding against the Lakers at this point. So I think, even though I've made videos talking about I don't think he's going to end up being traded to the West, as always, things change very, very quickly, and all of a sudden now it seems like that's the only really logical place for him to go. Yeah, Eric, I did see that. Magic Johnson talking about he's going to, step down if he doesn't get a superstar. I think he said by next summer, like by the end of next summer. I think that's just him posturing a little bit. I think it's just him publicly putting pressure on himself, but basically just saying we're the Lakers, we're going to get a guy this year or next year because that's who we are. It's a little bit unnecessary in my eyes. I highly doubt he would actually step down if they didn't get anybody, but I also think it's extremely unlikely that they don't get someone. Even if they don't get any of those three guys this summer, Kawhi Leonard's probably going to be a Laker this time next year, whether he signs in 2019 or they trade for him at some point or whatever. I'd be shocked if Kawhi wasn't a Laker this time next year. So I think it's just them being the Lakers and them just saying we're going to get who we want to get either this year or next year. Yeah, clickbait. It's a good point. Yeah, they do say that often. Mike says, not sure if you talked about this, but LA sends Ball, Ingram, Kuzma, and sign and trade for Randall, 16 mil question mark, for Kawhi Leonard and Powell, or even taking Ball off that deal. Yeah, so that's what I've heard. Well, actually, let me tell you what I've heard. What I've heard is, and by heard I mean read. I'm not going to pretend to be the NBA fan with sources or anything. But what I've read is it's Ingram, Kuzma, Hart, picks, and potentially Julius Randle in a sign and trade for Kawhi, and potentially either Patty Mills or Pau Gasol's contract. That last part is very, very important because it affects how much cap space the Lakers have to do anything. If they get a straight up trade for Kawhi, they don't have to trade for contracts, then they have like $15 million left after signing more than likely Bron or PG to a max deal, which allows them to sign maybe Avery Bradley. It allows them to fill out the roster a little bit more. I don't think Lonzo Ball is going to be involved in any of the Lakers trades because the Spurs don't seem interested, but the Julius Randle sign and trade is interesting. It helps obviously bring more value to the Spurs. And I would love to see Julius Randle with the Spurs. All those guys, honestly, I think would do great in San Antonio, as most players would. But I wouldn't be shocked to see a Julius Randle sign and trade involved in a Kawhi trade if it does happen. Again, it would be nuts if this happened, on stream or something. What did they do? What is this? It says the Spurs wished Kawhi a happy birthday on Twitter, and apparently everybody lost their mind. Yeah, Colby, that would be cool, man. It would be really cool if something happened on stream today. Let me pull this up. People freaking out on Twitter. Dude says, what do you think the Hornets are trying to do to improve? Lord knows, dude. I'm not a Hornets fan. I'm a Nets fan. No idea what the Hornets are trying to do on a daily basis. The Dwight deal made no sense, except for the fact they're trying to get on the luxury tax, but it's ridiculous that they're a tax team and they're barely winning 30 games. So, I don't know. I have no idea what the Hornets are ever trying to do. Oh, man. This is awesome, guys, though. We keep breaking our the most viewers we've ever had. So do me a favor, like the stream, tweet the stream if you can. I'd appreciate it. We're nearing 200 viewers for the first time ever on a live stream. This is awesome, guys, especially for noon on a Friday. Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate it. Sean, that's a great point. Sean, I'm glad you said that. Sean, you're always in the comments as well. You're always in the streams. I really appreciate you being here. How is Kawhi going to sign with the Lakers next season if PG and Bron sign there this offseason? It's a great point. I don't think it can happen. That's what I said. So, those three guys, if they want that three, it's got to be this year because they have to trade for one of them. So, I'll double check, but I looked at this stuff yesterday. I'm almost positive that the Lakers would not have enough space next summer to sign another guy. So that's what I was saying earlier. Sorry, I'm typing. That's what I was saying earlier about the Lakers. If they want to get all three, they've got to sign two and then trade for the third. But that seems pretty unlikely at this point because someone's got to be the first one, right? Let me check. So next summer, if they don't sign anybody this year, yeah, they have the same amount of cap space. You're right. So they can't. If they want all three, they've got to make it happen this summer. Yep. It's a good point, Sean. Thank you for bringing that up. LOL, no, I think Deng's contract expires in the summer of 2020, actually. So he makes 18 next year, 18.8 the following, believe it or not. No offense to Luol Deng, but yeah, people are freaking out on Twitter. They're just people sending all these Sixers GIFs, however you want to say it. We're not going to start that argument today, to the Spurs for wishing him happy birthday. Colby says, do you think Kevin Love will be traded this year? There were rumors yesterday, the day before, about the Suns, maybe, I think it was, being in on a Kevin Love trade. I think even if Bron leaves, I think they're going to try and run it back and try and make the playoffs, honestly. Colin Sexton, George Hill, JR, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, that's probably a 6 or 7 or 8 seed in the East. So I doubt they're going to trade Kevin Love because, what really are they going to get that's going to help them build a future for Kevin Love, right? I think he probably provides more value to them on the floor than he does in a trade. That's just me. You're right. He is always in trade talks. And had they lost the championship 2016 when they beat the Warriors, everything I've read about that situation says that Kevin Love was getting traded if they lost that series. Like that Game 7, pick and roll switch where he defended Steph Curry and got him forced a miss, and obviously Kyrie hits the shot. That might have kept Kevin Love in a Cleveland uniform, because everything I've read, heard, even like David Griffin on the Bill Simmons podcast a few times, made it seem very likely that Kevin Love knew he was going to be traded if they lost that series. Always the scapegoat in Cleveland, for sure. Brandon Brooks says, I'm seeing that the Mavs want to start Luka in the backcourt with DSJ. I'm assuming you would play the two. Do you think Luka can be as effective off the ball as seeing as a ball-dominant player? I don't really think he's that ball-dominant of a player. And I think he's definitely a backcourt guy. I don't think he's a wing. I think he's definitely a two that can handle the ball, potentially, run the offense when, DSJ's off the floor, run a little bit of the one. I definitely think that's an outstanding fit. Dennis has got to learn to shoot the ball better off the ball, because there are definitely going to be times when Luka's going to have the ball in his hands in ball screens, and Dennis can't be shooting 30% from three, but I definitely think he's going to be able to improve that part of his game. And I think those two guys are going to be an awesome combination moving forward, just because Dennis provides a little bit more, athletic finishing and can do a little bit more maybe off the bounce than Luka can without screens, maybe isolation stuff. And Luka's just such a good passer and such a crafty scorer. And I think they're just going to fit so well together. I'm really excited to see that backcourt develop. So I would say he play at the two, but it's one of those things where they're both going to handle the ball, kind of like Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, obviously different style players, but in that system, they both handle the ball. One of them's off the floor, the other handles the ball a ton, and they just kind of switch off from that. So I would say that'd be a pretty similar situation to compare that to. Every time I get a notification on my phone, I keep thinking something's going down. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have streamed more, like the trade deadline day. I wish I would have done that. And if I wasn't already, like, if there's reports that Bron's going to decide like before the 4th of July, if it wasn't obviously the 4th of July, I would stream the day that I think he's going to sign. If he signs on a different day, the 3rd or the 2nd, then I'll hop on stream immediately. My plan was, as soon as Kawhi got traded, I was going to hop on stream. So, maybe that'll happen today, but I'm planning on doing this kind of stuff all the time, because this is easier and I feel like more interactive than me putting out a video really quickly, like I did right after the draft. Like, I feel like this works better, and I definitely enjoy doing this with you guys. Colby, I haven't seen anything. Maybe I've just been paying attention to other stuff, but Colby's talking about Seth Curry maybe joining Steph in Golden State. I have not seen that. I've not seen that at all. Yeah, Tommy, we were just talking about that. Brown opted out maybe like 2 hours ago. Loba says, you see Josh Richardson as a new potential all-star. I don't know about all-star, but I know that from everything I've read, the Heat love him. Like, the Heat really think highly of him, and he's a name that for other people often comes up in trade talks because he's definitely valuable, but I don't think the Heat are going to part with him for very many guys. Like, they want a lot of value back for him. I do think they're a team to keep an eye on in terms of making moves this summer, because they're in such an awful cap situation. I think they have like $149 million in guaranteed money already for next season, something ridiculous like that. They're like $20 or $30 million over the luxury tax line, because Tyler Johnson's poison pill part of his contract kicks in. So he goes from making like 6 or 7 this year to 18 next year, and they already were over the cap and over the tax. So I would definitely keep an eye on the Heat in terms of a team that could be making some moves, but I don't think Josh Richardson would be involved in that, nor do I think is a future all-star, but I do know that they really like him. I did see that. Someone said, what do you think about Crawford or Howard to Golden State? I haven't seen anything concrete about Dwight Howard. I know it's been like brought up on Twitter and stuff, but I haven't seen like actual reports about it. Well, I have seen reports about Jamal Crawford potentially going to Golden State, which, I mean, obviously he can score the ball, like it'd be a good fit in that case, but the thing about it is, a lot of times these teams, once they start, making the finals or consistently being in championship contention, they start adding all these older guys to their roster, thinking Richard Jefferson for the Cavs, thinking any number of Miami Heat guys that joined in with, the Heatles and Bron and Wade and Bosch, Mike Miller, all those guys. And they start adding all these veterans that are willing to, come on for cheap deals, which is great. But then 2 or 3 years from now, that's all you have. You have all these older guys that can't defend. Their skills are diminishing. So I would be careful about spending too much money on guys like that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Jamal in Golden State trying to win a championship. I don't believe he's ever won one. And obviously he'd provide them a scoring punch. But I think it's getting to the point where his reputation is starting to outpace his actual play on the floor. And he's got to be like 34, 35 at this point. Lots of Luol Deng questions, which I wasn't expecting. No one's trading for that contract. Nobody has the space. The Lakers would have to attach Lord knows what to get someone to take it. Someone asked which one is worse contract-wise, Luol Deng or Chandler Parsons. Luol Deng, because he literally doesn't play for the Lakers for any number of reasons. Chandler Parsons could actually, if he ever gets remotely close to healthy, could actually get on the floor and do some things, and I don't know that that's the case with Deng. Interesting name. LaFlop James 1234 says, I'm a Blazers fan. In my opinion, blowing it up is not worth it. At the end of the day, owners are trying to sell tickets and jerseys, etc., to make profit. And I would agree. Them and the Raptors kind of in a similar situation where they've got a really good team, and the Raptors situation, the best team in franchise history, and from a basketball standpoint, strictly, nothing else involved, if you're just trying to win championships, those two teams it's not going to happen. They're probably not even going to they're definitely not going to make the finals with their current rosters. It's just not going to happen. Toronto has a better chance than the Trailblazers do, just given the conference that they're in. But strictly from a basketball perspective, they should blow it up. But that's obviously not the only consideration. Like you said, there's ticket sales, there's money, there's fan interest, especially in Portland. Everybody has told me that the city would just riot if all of a sudden the team sucked. Apparently they love this team. They love their Trailblazers in general. I know that. So it's not as easy as just let's blow it up. It's not like 2K, you can just trade everybody away. As easy as we try to make it seem like that would be to do. So I would agree, both those teams, if I were them, I would run it back, try and continue to be profitable, but try and get under the luxury tax as much as possible, and then maybe look at doing something next summer. I'm sure the Trailblazers are very close to the luxury tax, and I know they're trying to avoid it like the plague, and I'm pretty sure the Raptors are trying to do the same. Chewy, are you a Nets fan? Have we talked about this? I know you've been in streams a lot. I can't remember if you're a Nets fan or not. I don't think D'Lo's going to move. I think the Nets are standing kind of where they are, and then they might go for a restricted free agent this summer. But no, I don't think D'Lo's going to get moved. I do like Karis LeVert. Guys, we're almost at 200 viewers. That's awesome. I do like both of those guys, and no, I don't think D'Lo's going to get traded. I think fans really like D'Lo. I think they like the potential of having a guy that was the second overall pick not long ago. I know I do. I'm not a huge D'Lo fan, but I definitely like having him on the roster. It gives me hope, gives me an idea of thinking that maybe the team could get even better, and because he has so much more potential, at least, maybe, has some of that potential that he could fulfill. You are a Nets fan. It's a rough life, my dude. I feel you, but someone's got to be Nets fans, right? So it's you and me. That's it. The only two Nets fans in the world. So Bien says, why can't they just waive Deng? I've tried so many times to look into how the stretch provision works, but the problem is I have no idea who has used what. Like, there's no resource for me to be able to find who's used their amnesty, who has stretched, who hasn't stretched. And for the Lakers, it's probably more beneficial to just let the contract come off rather than stretching it and putting more money on their books even further beyond when Deng's contract would expire. And they have plenty of space. Like, they have a ton of space. That's not the issue. So I don't think they're going to end up waiving him. I just wish there was some kind of resource for me to be able to understand those things a little bit better. Because I know what they are, but I wish there was, more of a backlog of scenarios in which teams have actually used those things. Amnesties, stretch, things like that. John says, have you heard of the scenario where the 76ers can get Bron and Kawhi? It was on the Ringer podcast. Do you think they can coexist? I am a fairly constant, reader, listener on the Ringer. A lot of different places, but definitely the Ringer, just because I think they have a lot of interesting ideas, and a lot of their articles are a little bit different than other outlets. And yeah, I did see that. I mean, they talked about maybe Kawhi and Bron, PG and Bron, PG and Kawhi, any number of things. I think they could definitely coexist, and I think they're both definitely interested in playing with each other. But I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in LA. As much chatter as there was about Philly being a destination, and I'm not saying they're completely out of it, but ever since the Colangelo stuff broke, it kind of seems like their momentum in terms of trading for Bron has kind of dropped off. So I really, they're not completely out of it, but I think it's LA and Cleveland at this point. And I don't think any team in the East is going to give up what they're going to have to give up to get Kawhi if they don't think he's staying. And right now, it doesn't seem like Kawhi is interested in playing for anyone that's not located in LA, and preferably the Lakers. That's not to say that the Sixers can't make moves. Like, just because they have the space to get Bron, they have the space to get PG, or they could trade for Kawhi, even if they don't get any of those guys, that it's not like that space is gone. Like, they can still sign, guys like Avery Bradley. They could sign, Will Barton. They could sign any number of players that they need to be able to shoot the ball a little bit better, have a little bit more perimeter playmaking, some more guys on the wing that can guard and shoot. Trevor Ariza maybe. Like, it's not like that space is just wasted if they don't sign Bron or PG. They're going to get somebody, because that space doesn't exist next year. Because is it next year or the following? Pretty soon, Joel Embiid's contract is going to kick in. Maybe it is next year. Regardless, Ben Simmons, all those guys are going to start making a lot more money. So they've got to, if they want to sign guys outright, they've got to use that space this year. So even if they don't get those big guys, I would imagine they're going to get somebody. They're going to get help for this team this summer via free agency, whether it's those max guys or not. Could be, like I said, could be Avery Bradley, could be a restricted free agent. They might go with, Aaron Gordon or Jabari Parker. Like, they have space to do those things, even if they don't get a max guy. That's an interesting question. Hold on, who was that? Lobo says, how would the Lakers fill a roster in case they use both max slots on LeBron and Paul George? So let's say, for example, so the Lakers are at 40. So they could do some minor moves. Let's just say that they make enough moves and they sign both those guys max deals, and they don't have any more outright cap space. So what they can do is they can, and this is the case with a lot of teams, is they have the option to use the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is the right around $8 million, I believe. It's a little over 8. So they could go after, I think Avery Bradley is like just so overlooked in this free agency class in terms of a guy that you could get for what is considered a bargain in most other summers, because there's not as much money out there. I think he's a player for them, whether it's with Kawhi, with Bron, with PG, whoever it is. I think Avery Bradley's definitely a player, but they've got about $8 million to work with that non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Now, the difference being teams like Toronto right now are over the tax, so they only get, I believe, about 5 for the non-taxpayer, or for the taxpayer mid-level exception. So if you're thinking about them signing 2 max players and then filling out the roster, they'd have about 8. They don't have to use it all on one guy, but they've got about 8 to use to fill out the rest of the roster, assuming it's not like minimum deals or trading for someone, or re-signing their own guys, KCP, whoever. Mungo says Ray Allen will sign with LA if Bron comes. Imagine that. That's the super team. Paul George shows up, or they trade for Kawhi. Bron shows up, and then Ray Allen's like, I'm here. He did officially retire, but it took so long. That's funny. Kobe coming out of retirement. Imagine. Delhi equals super team. Yeah, so Mike says, in part 2 of his series, Paul George mentioned Boston as a possible destination. Do you think the Celtics could sign and trade for him since the Thunder have expressed interest in Marcus Smart. That was again one of the more interesting parts about those things to me. Does part 3 drop tonight? Maybe, or has it already come out? I don't know. I've only seen parts 1 and 2. Is all these different teams that were like kind of mentioned as a possibility for him. Again, I think it would have made more sense had he like opted in today. It would have made more sense to me for someone to sign and trade for him. But I in the end, I think it's OKC and the Thunder, and that documentary, if you want to put it like that, was kind of framed to make it look a little bit more interesting, maybe than it was, and try and include more teams than just those two. But I do think it's just those two. Having said that, I think the contract length stuff, if you guys talk, I think it's in part 2. There's like a whole presentation they show. Obviously, the contracts are blurred out, but where he talks about, his agent talks about, what if you signed a 2-2, a 3-1, a 5-year max, and I guess just assumed that Paul George was going to sign a 5-year max this summer with somebody, but that might not be the case. Like, he could sign a 1-1, a 2-1. He could sign something that allows him to re-enter the market again when he's 30. Like, that stuff is really interesting to me because, again, I think it's down to, LA and OKC, but the contract length, is a really, really interesting factor to me. Rodney says, if the Lakers stretch Deng, they would pay around $11 million a year for the next 5 years, saving almost $8 million over the next 3 years, but keeping on the books longer. Yeah, so that's what I mean. If they did stretch him, then, because it is 2 more years, it's next year and the following is Deng's contract. Imagine if they never made that deal, they'd have so much more money. Then, yeah, so it would affect them longer term. It would save them money this summer and the following, but in the long run, that money would still be there. Now, it might not matter as much, right? It might not matter as much in 2021 because they've already got their super team, but it's definitely something to consider, and I don't think it's something that's going to happen. I think they're just going to keep Deng's contract, and it's going to come off in 2020. I need some water. No, Magic did not give Deng that contract. Kupchak. That's my name. That's the name I'm looking for. Mitch Kupchak gave him that contract. Aiden says, Kemba to the Lakers. It seems like all the Kemba stuff is kind of calmed down, at least to the Cavs. I haven't heard anything about him going to the Lakers, but I really thought Kemba was going to get traded, maybe even on draft night. But it seems like they're going to run it back with their 30-win team, pay $119 million, and wait for Mozgov's contract to come out. I don't know. If anybody has any idea what the Hornets are doing, I would love to know. Boomerang, thank you, bud. I appreciate that. Chewy, I'm not sure if the Lakers have any trade exceptions. You can look. The trade machine will tell you. I'm not sure. Udy Gaming says, is there a chance Cavs could pair a star with LeBron? Have you guys seen those tweets where, people are coming up with, oh, this could be the Cavs lineup next year, like George Hill, Paul George, Bron, Kawhi, and someone else, Hassan Whiteside. Like, that's just so unbelievably unrealistic for that to even be a remote possibility. I don't think the Cavs can pair Bron with another star. The Cavs pitch, in my mind, is they've got a young point guard in Colin Sexton, who they would probably be willing to trade if Bron asked them to get someone else. You've still got Kevin Love there, George Hill, Tristan Thompson, guys you've been with, and you can win a championship with. Obviously, Kyrie not being there hurts that, but it's also that, and it's being home, and it's being comfortable, for your family, and that's kind of the pitch. The on-court stuff, the Lakers, if they can get some other guys, definitely have the advantage, and they have younger guys that can develop, assuming they don't trade them away. So that's really the pitch. It's about the comfort and of being in your hometown and having guys around you that as opposed to kind of the unknown in LA, which is a big reason he doesn't want to be the first one to jump on. Bring Delly back to the Cavs. Imagine. Yeah, that's the thing. Rob's talking about. I have no idea what the Hornets are doing, especially since they hired Kupchak. Yeah, I have no clue. No idea. I don't know. People are so there's a lot of Isaiah Thomas questions. I have no idea. Like Isaiah Thomas could sign for the mid-level in Boston. He could sign for 15 somewhere else. I have no idea. I have literally no idea what's going to happen with IT. I think it's an interesting situation because, 18 months ago he was a second-team All-NBA point guard, and now it's like, is he going to make more than $10 million next year? I have no idea. If I had to guess, I would say that he's probably going to end up signing late. He's not going to be an early signing. Maybe in the $8 to $10 million range, potentially as a mid-level exception guy for somebody. But which team? I have no idea. Maybe OKC. No idea. Because the thing is, because we were talking about it earlier, Paul George might actually be considering going back to Oklahoma City. And if that's the case, the Thunder are at like $153 million or something stupid for next year in salary if they re-sign Paul George to a 5-year max. And that's for a team that, best case scenario, is going to make the second round of the Western Conference playoffs, right? Like, that's insane to me. I understand you have to do it if you're Oklahoma City, but it's just crazy to me that they're going to pay that much to lose in the second round. Yeah, Salvatore's talking about Dennis Schroeder. I've heard a lot of things about, Dennis Schroeder being, on the way out in Atlanta. They want him out. He wants to leave. Who's trading for Dennis Schroeder, though? Like, who really needs a point guard? You know what I mean? Who needs, like, a slightly above league average point guard that makes, what does he make, like 18? Point guard is such a saturated position that, if you're trading for a point guard, you're trading for Kemba. You're not trading for Dennis Schroeder. Unless you don't think Kemba's going to stick around. Like, who's trading for Dennis Schroeder? That's what I want to know. Yeah, so people said Denver, people said Indiana, but, you would want Kemba first, wouldn't you? You'd want Kemba before Dennis Schroeder. So both of those teams, Indiana, Denver, I agree, could use a point guard, but you're going to trade for Kemba first. Orlando, okay, but again, you're going to trade for Kemba first, and even if Kemba got traded first and you're Orlando, who are you giving up to get to get Dennis Schroeder that the Hawks would want? Vucevic maybe, but is that helping the Hawks much? Like, I think obviously they want to get value for him, but I don't see a scenario where he gets moved, to be honest. But then again, I didn't expect Austin Rivers to get traded, and here we are. So. Spurs, okay, maybe. Suns or Mavericks? Tommy, I don't know about the Mavs. Suns are interesting. Always for point guards. Suns are very interesting. But again, like, what are you trading? And I don't know. It's a weird limbo for Dennis Schroeder. I'm pronouncing his name correctly, aren't I? Anybody from Germany in the stream? I'm assuming I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Rodney, I appreciate it, bud. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you like the stream. Don't trade my guy TJ Warren for Dennis Schroeder. I love TJ Warren. Big shout out NC State. Run the Like says, we can't assume all these organizations are thinking smart. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody takes Dennis Schroeder, because he's still young. That's fair. We can't always assume that what we're thinking is what they're thinking, or what we're thinking is smart, or what they're thinking is smart, because, these are people that have, in our minds, in hindsight, obviously made plenty of mistakes. Joakim Noah signings, Chandler Parsons signings, like all these things. So that's true. Can't always assume that they're going to make smart moves. I'm not saying that I would be any better in their situation at all. That's not what I'm saying. Oh my gosh. Joel says no, the Germans are still crying after their group stage exit. I have not watched like any World Cup. I have not watched a single minute of the World Cup. My camera needs to get in focus. I've not watched a single minute of the World Cup. Now it's in like the knockout stage now, right? So I'll probably end up watching some now, but I have not watched a single minute now. Lloyd, I'm from Germany. You pronounce his name completely wrong. Yeah, I'm sure I do, but I apologize if I'm insulting anyone. I figured I was pronouncing his name wrong, to be honest. Soccer here, football for y'all, Mungo. So DeMarcus Cousins. Let's talk about Boogie. So, with everything that happened earlier in the week with the Austin Rivers trade and, Gortat going to LA, and do we really think that the Wizards are going to run out Jason Smith and Ian Mahinmi next year as their starting five, or their starting five-man? And that their solution, if it's not those two, is going to be Enes Kanter. Or maybe Dwight. I really think that there's something else going on in Washington where they think that they can get a sign and trade for Boogie. Like the Otto Porter, DeMarcus Cousins numbers just match up too well. And if it's not there, I think that maybe Dallas could be in play if they don't get DJ today. I think it's going to be one of those two teams. I really don't think Boogie's going to be a Pelican next year. I think that, that team just played so much better later in the year, playing faster, playing without him, but they're still going to want value for him. Like, they're not just going to let him walk. And some team is going to want Boogie, regardless of the Achilles stuff, and I don't blame them for it. I would love to see him in Washington, and I would love to see him in Dallas. I mean, this is a guy that's never really gotten that much of a fair shake. I mean, he started in Sacramento, put up huge numbers, but Sacramento is obviously not a great situation to be in. No offense to Kings fans, but it just hasn't been. And then, with the Pelicans, obviously he got to play with AD, but that's kind of an awkward fit. And I would love to see him in Washington. I would love to see him in Dallas. Either way, I think it would be really, really cool. Again, I'm not making predictions. I think, who did I say? I think in my Free Agent Friday video, I said he was going to be with the Pelicans, I believe was my prediction. But now, I have no idea now. Things change so quickly. I would love to see him in Washington or Dallas. That's true. Rodney's bringing up other five men that the Wizards could be interested in. So there's also Nurkic from Portland as a free agent, Hassan Whiteside, whose trade value is an all-time low. Fair point. But I don't know. I just think, is that really your solution? And how much is Yusuf Nurkic going to cost? I would imagine the Trailblazers would want him. Like, I just think they've got something in mind with Boogie. It's just me. Maybe it's just me being hopeful, but I think it would be really cool. Chandler, did I say? I don't remember saying it was his knee. Maybe someone in chat said. I know it's his Achilles. John says, I'll take Achilles torn Boogie over Whiteside, LOL. Don't blame you. The Thunder, everybody, like every time there's like a free agent available or a guy's up for a trade, everybody brings up the Thunder, and I don't understand. I mean, obviously they got Paul George. I don't understand how they're supposed to get Boogie. I mean, who are they trading for him in a sign and trade? I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I guess you could do a double sign and trade with Paul George and Boogie, but that's super complicated. Will says, how should the Hornets manage their cap situation? Guess as good as mine, dude. Like, they have so many guys making like 12 to 18 million, and they're winning 30 games, and they're, until 2 weeks ago, they were over the luxury tax. There's like, I have no idea. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what MJ's doing. I don't know what Kupchak's doing. I have no idea. I'm glad I'm not a Hornets fan. I would rather be a Nets fan right now than a Hornets fan. So, what do you guys think? I think this is an interesting guy in free agency. Unrestricted, I believe. What do you guys think about, yeah, definitely unrestricted, about Nerlens Noel? Because he was in Philly, obviously Philly was the way it was, but he showed like he could provide a lot of value defensively. One of the league leaders among big men in steals and blocks. Very athletic guy. And then he went to Dallas, and everything that I read said that basically he wanted to do things that Rick Carlisle doesn't ask his bigs to do. Rick Carlisle wants guys to run to the rim, to set good screens, occupy space in the middle, protect the rim. And Nerlens Noel wanted to post up, he wanted to face up, he wanted to shoot, and it just was not a good match. And I think that's brought Nerlens Noel's value down so much to the point where he could be a bargain for somebody this year, assuming he's healthy and assuming he buys in and has a good relationship with the team. That could potentially be a Wizards pick there, another Kentucky guy, potentially. If, let's say, a super team happens in LA, they have a mid-level exception available, could use some of that on Noel. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about Nerlens Noel? Yeah, Tommy makes a good point. He kind of screwed himself by not taking the 4-year, $70 million one that Dallas offered him last offseason, or maybe when they first traded for him. Either way, you're probably right. He bet on himself, and it didn't work out for him. I don't blame him for betting on himself, but he probably should have, at least, again, from what I'm reading, probably should have bought in to the system a little bit more than he did. Mixed Machine says, could LeBron, Kawhi, Paul George, and Cousins with a full roster of G League players win a championship? Probably, honestly, probably. He's a poor man's Tyson Chandler. Well, that's what Dallas has been looking for forever, it seems like, right? Is a Tyson Chandler guy. Ever since ever since Chandler left, or they got rid of him, I guess. He was kind of the perfect 5-man for them, for Rick Carlisle. And then ever since he left, they've just been kind of searching for that guy again. How about this trade? Spurs get DeRozan, Siakam, Anunoby, and a protected first-round pick. Raptors get Kawhi, Patty Mills to make contracts work. The problem with that is if you're the Raptors, you're giving up DeRozan, who's a good player, Siakam, good young player, Anunoby, who might have the most value on the entire roster, and a pick for a guy that's probably going to be in a Lakers uniform this time next year. And that's a consideration that's something you have to consider if you're any team that's not the Lakers. How much you're giving up for a guy that you have no guarantee wants to even be there. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're looking at it strictly from a trade perspective, is this equal value? You're probably, getting close, but that's not anything that Toronto is going to want to do, because what you're trading for is more than likely going to, end up playing for a different team next season. That's a possibility. Clickbait says, what about this trade? DJ to the Mavs, Noel to the Mavs, and a sign-and trade. I didn't think about that as a possible thing, because we were talking earlier, like, if they're going to trade for DJ, how are they going to make that trade work? Who are they going to trade? All this stuff. It's a good point. Maybe. Yeah, so people keep putting in chat all these different potential Kawhi trade scenarios. I don't think that he's going to end up anywhere but LA, because no other team thinks that he's going to stay, and they're just not going to give up anything remotely close to fair value for what's essentially a rental, and the Spurs aren't just going to give him away for something that's not fair value, So I think eventually it is going to be LA. Thanks, Will. I appreciate it, bud. Doc says Lance to where? I don't know. Wherever he goes, he's going to suck, though, because he's not in a Pacers uniform. He's only good when he's with the Pacers. I was honestly shocked that they declined his option, because I think it was like 4.8 or something, which, he provides, pretty good value to them. So I was a little shocked that it went that way, right? That they declined it. And I understand they're trying to create as much space as possible, but I have no idea. He's probably another mid-level exception guy. Radar says, I'm sad Lance is gone. I'm sad for the Pacers that Lance is gone. Like, I'm sad for the Pacers and Pacers fans that Lance is no longer there. Yeah, we already talked about Isaiah earlier. Cam thinks they're going for Marcus Smart. The Pacers are. Everything I've read said it's Aaron Gordon for the Pacers. Joe says, could a LeBron and Colin Sexton coexistence work? If so, wouldn't it hold him back? Would it hold him back or maximize his potential? I don't know that we're ever going to get a chance to see that combination, but if we do, it's under the impression that LeBron thinks that Colin Sexton is going to be able to help him win a championship. Like, he has to have a high opinion of him if he's going to come back and play with him, because otherwise he would come back and say, trade him. I don't want to play with him. Lack of a jump shot, Colin Sexton is concerning, whether he's playing with Bron or any other player that is going to take the ball out of his hands. But he's a great athlete, and I think he's definitely going to be able to improve his shooting percentages playing in the NBA, playing with more space. There were not very many times when he was playing in Alabama that there were a lot of options for him to kick the ball out to and be able to make open shots. So I think they could coexist, but I don't think it's very likely that we ever actually see that combination. And Defuse, I apologize. I have all this stuff at the bottom, right? And your name should be popping up there. And I'm not sure why it is, but at least you're on the alert box. But I don't understand why at the very bottom it's not popping up. But I do appreciate the dono. Joe says, NBA scouts said Kyle Kuzma couldn't shoot. I'm assuming in reference to Colin Sexton. Yeah, but we can't use that as just because NBA scouts were wrong about one recent guy about his ability to shoot doesn't mean they're going to be wrong about every guy moving forward, right? Like, we can't just use that one scenario, that one instance, and just say, oh, they're going to be wrong about everybody now. But I understand your point. Where will Rondo go? Rajon Rondo. I always seem to forget about him because he had a really good postseason, right? Like, he played really well with the Pelicans. And I don't know, like, how much is, what is he, 32, 33-year-old Rondo? Like, how much is he worth at this point? I have no idea. I have no idea where he's going to go. I don't know who's going to sign him. Like, it's so difficult to predict those, like, lower level guys because it depends on where these bigger guys go, who has space left, who's really interested. I would imagine the Pelicans are pretty motivated to try and bring him back, so that would be my first guess, but beyond that, I'm not sure. Interesting. Jordan says if Kawhi re-signs, I'm assuming he means re-signs with Boston, would you trade Tatum to the Spurs? I would not. I would maybe give them Jaylen Brown. It doesn't seem like the Celtics are interested in doing either based off what I'm reading. I personally would not. I would not trade Jason Tatum for Kawhi, even if I thought Kawhi was going to stay. Because I don't know how healthy Kawhi is. I don't know how happy he would be, even if he says he's going to stay. I would rather have Jason Tatum at not even 21. And Kawhi's, I know he's only he turned 27 today, I think. But that the injury thing definitely is a question mark for me, as well as the situation he just came from in San Antonio. To be upset with that organization to the point that you want to leave is a big red flag to me, and is definitely something that makes me question, his commitment and how, yeah, exactly how much I can trust him, as someone just said in chat. So no, I would not. Like, we've talked about this before. I think, especially if LeBron's not in the East, and even if LeBron stays in Cleveland, I think the Celtics are the favorites in the East right now if they just run it back. And they have a fairly okay chance, of getting a couple of games off whoever comes out of the West, because they have good wings. They have, guys that can shoot the ball. They have guys that can guard. They have versatile guys. They can switch a lot of things. They have playmakers. So all this talk about, the the Celtics trading away all these guys to try and get Kawhi, they're not desperate to do that. Like, they have a good enough team to make the finals next year and be the favorites in the East just by running it back with who they have. Obviously, they got to figure out the Marcus Smart situation, but I don't think they're in any rush to start giving up young assets for Kawhi or anyone else, AD or otherwise. Yeah, Dan, I don't think even Danny Ainge would trade Gordon Hayward. But I mean, maybe he is, right? Because all these reports are saying they're not going to give up Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And you'd imagine that like Marcus Smart plus Terry Rozier plus Marcus Morris plus picks isn't enough. So maybe he is thinking about trading Gordon Hayward. I don't think that would actually happen. I would be shocked if that actually happened. But, it is Danny Ainge. So we'll see. Chris, that's an interesting point I haven't actually seen really anybody else bring up. He says, do you think Kawhi might not be as good since he's not in Pop's system? I think if you're saying not as good, meaning like numbers-wise, I think no matter what team he goes to next year, his numbers are not going to be the way they were in San Antonio because it seems likely that he's not going to be the only guy wherever he goes. And I think that if there's a downturn in his play, statistically it's going to be as a result of that. And if there's a downturn in his play on the court in general, it's going to be as a result of the injury, like not coming back fully healthy. I saw, who was it? Was it Rusty? I think it was Rusty yesterday. Apparently there was some tweet saying the Bulls are interested in signing Jeremy Grant, and he was like, freaking out because apparently he loves Jeremy Grant. I think depending on because he's unrestricted, that's the weird part is you think that Jeremy Grant's restricted, but he's not. So the Thunder don't have any right to match. They don't have really much money to spend on him. So I think that's a guy someone could definitely poach, and you're just hoping that his jump shot improves. But he's definitely a versatile guy, can protect the rim, can rebound, play the four, even the five if you wanted to. I think Jeremy Grant's definitely an interesting free agent. One two says, do you think LeBron only comes to LA if the Ball family is gone? That's what I read a few times is, he just doesn't want to deal with that. He doesn't want Lonzo Ball to be there if he does come to LA, which makes you think, okay, well, then they'll just trade him, but I don't know who they're going to trade him to. I don't know. I don't think it's like a complete deal breaker. If they get Paul George, I think Bron would still come even if Lonzo is there, but it's just crazy that that's as much of a consideration as it is. Sean says Rockets next move ? I don't know. It's tough because I don't think Bron's in play. I don't think PG is really in play. I would imagine most of their moves are going to be about their own guys. Trevor Ariza is a free agent. Chris Paul is a free agent. Clint Capella is a free agent. They've got to do something about Ryan Anderson. I think most of their moves are going to be about their own guys because if you look at it objectively, a healthy Rockets team wins the West this year. I think they beat the Warriors if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt. And obviously the Warriors had their own injury issues just like everybody else does. But a healthy Rockets team, in my opinion, would have won the West this year. So if you're looking at that and you just say, let's run it back, maybe try and get someone with a taxpayer mid-level, then, those are probably going to be their moves. I don't think it's going to be anything huge. It's not going to be Bron. It's not going to be PG. It's going to be, let's bring our guys back, depending on what Clint Capella gets offered in restricted free agency, and then try and add a mid-level guy and roll from there. And try to get Trevor Ariza back as well. What's up, Waffles? Good to have you back, bud. Gengar says, will Boston sign anyone new? They're a tax team, aren't they? I apologize for not knowing every team's contracts off the top of my head. I'm almost positive Boston's a tax team because they've got 3 max guys. Let me check. The reason I'm looking is because it changes how much money they'd have to spend. No, they're not. They're not a tax team. They're at 107. So they have the full 8. So, I mean, Avery Bradley could come back. Like, it's the same group of guys. Avery Bradley, Will Barton. Like, it's the same group of guys that I've been talking about that they could get with that mid-level. But same thing with them as with the Rockets. Oh, but they have to re-sign Marcus Smart. So if they bring back Smart, they're going to be a tax team, which changes things. So I would think that would be their move, would be bring back Marcus Smart. And then anything beyond that is just going to be mid-level guys. Yep, 1-2, I just realized. Yep. Chewy says, are the Warriors still the favorite to win the West if PG, Bron, and Kawhi signs in LA? I think if you're talking about like Vegas favorite, I think they probably would still be, just because they've won 3 of the last 4 championships and should have won probably 4 out of 4. So I think they would still be the favorites, but it would be close. And it's just the only question mark is how those guys would play together, right? Like the Warriors have been doing what they've been doing for 2 years now, and all of those guys would be new to LA. So that would be the only thing that would probably prevent them. Clickbait says, breaking, LiAngelo Ball went undrafted in the Starbucks manager draft. Wow, that's cold. All right, here's what we're going to do. It is 1:15 my time, okay? I'm going to go until 1:30. So all your questions, get them out. I'm going to go 15 more minutes, okay? But if something happens today, DeAndre Jordan gets traded, Kawhi gets traded, whatever. If something significant happens today, I'll hop back on later tonight, my time. We're going to go another 15 minutes, though. If that does happen, though, I might not get the video out today. The video that's supposed to be out today is about what LeBron opting out means for his free agency. But like I said, if something happens, I'll be back on stream, but we're going to go for another 15 minutes. Elite says, why'd you change your channel logo? I wanted something that looked a little bit more professional. I think it looked awesome. I had someone else do it. I paid someone to make the logo, and I really like it. I think it's really cool. I like the intro. I like the logo. I hope you guys like it, but I think it's really cool. Latest news, Cavs signed Bosch. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they did. 1-2, I'm sure they did. Who's the best player you think the Spurs could get for Kawhi? Maybe Cat or Kyrie. The best player in the Lakers roster, whoever you think that is. Like, I don't think he's going to be moved anywhere but LA at this point. Which is like a complete turnaround from, was it Monday or Tuesday? I made a video about, what you need to know about Kawhi trades. I just really didn't think that they were going to trade him to the West. But then Kawhi is just giving like no indication to anybody that he wants to re-sign anywhere but LA. So it makes me think that, it's going to have to be LA if someone's going to trade for him. And it seems like the reports that I'm reading, like Kawhi is not interested in ever wearing a Spurs uniform ever again. So, I mean, they have to trade him. They have to get value for him before 2019. So I think it's going to be the Lakers, whether it's this week or next week or a month from now. I think that's who it's going to be. Gengar, thank you, bud. I appreciate it. I think the logo looks really good as well. Lord says, what do you think about the Magic and them signing or trading for a good point guard? Will they be in playoff contention because of the weak East? The funny thing was, through like 20 games, weren't the Magic like 12 and something? Weren't they like above 500 through 20 games this year? They had like a really good start of the season. Aaron Gordon was shooting like 45% from 3. It was nuts. I think it depends on what they do with Aaron Gordon. I think if the goal is to make the playoffs next year, obviously bringing back Aaron Gordon at any number would help them do that. They've got some interesting players. I mean, they've got Hazzania, who they've got to figure out what to do with. They've got Aaron Gordon. Obviously, now they have Mo Bamba. They've got... Okay. Not what I expected to happen to talk about at least today, but I'll talk about it in a second. I'll finish what I was talking about. Orlando probably could make the playoffs, maybe if they make like a Kemba trade, but that's not going to help them, be at the top tier of the conference, but maybe if they get a good point guard. Apparently, Enes Kanter is officially opting in to his deal, to his, whatever it is, $18 million. There were reports like last week that he was considering opting out, which would have been nuts. He would have lost like $10 million. Enes Kanter opting into the Knicks. Big news today. Big news on opt-out day. Big news. Hear it here first. And by first, I mean on my phone, on the Bleacher Report notifications. But like I said, if anything happens later today, like I will stop what I'm doing and I'll hop back on stream and we'll talk about it. James says, what do you think the Nets will do with their 2 max offer sheets next year? It's interesting. Off the top of my head, Clay, if he doesn't re-sign, Kawhi, if he doesn't re-sign. Who else? Who else is available next year in 2019? I would imagine, though, they're not going to be able to get any of those big guys. They're going to end up taking the route that they have so far, and that's restricted free agents. So anybody that's in that draft class whose contract should be expiring next year to be restricted. Again, I don't know them off the top of my head, but that would probably be the route that they would go. They're going to have 2 max cap spaces. Is that the right sentence? 2 max cap spaces? Yeah. Who they're going to get, I don't know, because they've had this before, right? Like they've had max cap space in the past. They've had multiple in the past, but it hasn't necessarily, equated to them bringing anybody in. So we'll see. Waffles, no, I don't watch Game of Zones, but I feel like that comes up every stream. No, I've never seen Game of Zones. Enes Kanter responded to the... Hold on. I love Twitter. I'm actually addicted to Twitter. It's a problem. NBA Twitter is the greatest thing of all time. Let me see. I'm pulling up the Kanter thing right now. Is Game of Zones, is it supposed to be funny, or is like, what is it? It's just like an animated shorts, right? Like they're not long. I've literally never seen, I've seen all of Game of Thrones, but I've never seen Game of Zones. What? What? Enes Kanter with the tweet, Kanter, make Knicks great again. This man, he's an interesting guy. Enes Kanter, yeah, there it is. Tommy with the hashtag immediately. Hashtag make Knicks great again. Oh my gosh. Enes Kanter's an interesting guy. Ryan says, Jazz opinion. Seems like they need a stretch for him, maybe to help space for Mitchell. What do you think? I actually did a Jazz rebuild video, if you haven't seen it. Quick plug. I did a Jazz offseason rebuild video where I brought up the idea of them potentially signing and trading for Jabari Parker. I've had a lot of people tell me that they really think Derek Favors is going to stay, and I just don't think that's the case. I really don't. I think someone's going to pay Derek Favors something that the Jazz don't want to pay him, and I think it's an awkward fit with him and Rudy Gobert, and I don't think Derek Favors is going to be there next year. I agree about the stretch 4 thing, and I think the case that I made at the time in the video was Jabari Parker would be an option, and then potentially Thaddeus Young as well, who's not really a stretch 4 in terms of his ability to shoot, but a perimeter-oriented 4, good defender, versatile guy that could help them out. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it, bud. Thank you. Did he really, Rich? I missed that. I don't miss much. Did Thaddeus really opt in? He had a player or a team? I'm looking it up right now. I'm looking it up. Actually, no, I think I did see that because I saw a tweet like yesterday, the day before, was like a graphic, Like, congrats to the Pacers for bringing back Hall of Famer Thaddeus Young, because he was in like some statistical category with like MJ Braun, Larry Bird, and someone else. Yeah, you're right. Yep. You're right. I did see that. I just looked it up. That's LOL reminded me. Jimmy Butler's a free agent next summer as well. He said if the Timberwolves fire Tibbs and keep Wiggins, do you think Jimmy Butler will leave, and if yes, to what team? I don't think Tibbs is long for being the head coach of the Timberwolves. I definitely think he's going to be gone probably next offseason. I never really thought about Jimmy Butler's free agency in terms of where he might go until you just brought it up, because I kind of forgot that he's a free agent next year. Interesting. I don't know, man. Like, it's so difficult to project that far forward. I mean, he's probably still going to be a max guy. Interesting. I don't know. I would imagine Tibbs is probably not long for this for his position. To Chicago again, maybe. Who gave Wiggins that contract? It's a good question, my dude. It wasn't me. It was not me. I think. Ooh, I thought you said. So KG says, who's out of town first, Tibbs or Wiggins? I thought you said Cat at first, like Tibbs or Cat, and I definitely would have said Tibbs would be gone first. I mean, still probably Tibbs, but Wiggins could be traded tomorrow. Like, I don't know. Like, he's definitely on the block, I think. Red Hawk says, do you think Wendell Carter Jr. will be good with Lowry and Robin? Do you guys follow Rusty Buckets on Twitter? He is like losing his mind during the draft because they had, they were trying to get Bamba to move up. They never got Bamba. They could have drafted MPJ. They didn't get MPJ. They ended up with Wendell Carter, who I guess he's not very high on. I love Wendell Carter. I think he's going to fit great. I think Robin is going to take a step back. I think Wendell Carter and Lowry Markkanen is a really, really interesting front court combination for the next couple of years. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. And I think Wendell Carter is going to be a really good player. I don't understand why people are, so concerned about him, I guess. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good combo. Especially, Lowry's ability to shoot. I think Wendell Carter eventually will be able to shoot, although obviously he's a much better inside player right now than Lowry is. The Bulls are starting to make some moves, starting to build some pieces. Just kind of depends on what they want to do with Zach LaVine and how he develops and how healthy he is. I did see that, Ethan. Ethan says Luka's going to wear 77. Doesn't he wear 77? Maybe not for Real Madrid, but for his national team. Didn't he wear 77? It's not the first time he's worn that number. Is Dwight Powell 7? Yep, he is. Cordy just said, oh, Cordy, what's up, bud? Nice to see you. Always in the comments. Good to see you in stream. For the last 3 minutes of stream. He wore 7 for Slovenia. He's definitely worn 77 in a game before. Promise. I've seen it. That's what it was. Sean went and found the graphic. We're talking about Thad Young. Players to play 800 games, average 13.5 points, 5.9 rebounds, 1.4 steals, 49% field goals, and 30% three-point field goals. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Bron, and Thad Young. That's the graphic I was thinking about. Interesting. Yeah, so it's 128. So we're going to wrap it up, guys, pretty soon. A couple more questions. But I just want to say I really do appreciate it. At one point in stream, we did hit 200, which is the first time we've ever had 200. We were up over 180 for almost the entire stream, which is nuts. Like, that's an awesome number to have you guys come out, especially middle of the day. For a lot of you guys, I'm sure it's 1:30 my time. Obviously, a lot of you guys are in different time zones, and we did earlier where people were in all different parts of the world. I appreciate you guys checking out the stream. Like I said, if something happens, something goes down, I'm going to hop on stream as soon as I can. So if you get a notification, that Kawhi is being traded or DeAndre Jordan's being traded or Bron's deciding where he's going to go, if you get that notification, then pretty soon after you're going to get the notification about me going live. So if you don't want to miss that, again, just make sure you have, the notification bells going, because I'm going to hop on stream as soon as I can if something goes down, whether it's today or another day. Like, that's my plan this off season, is instead of trying to do these super, super, super quick videos as soon as things happen, I'm just going to hop on stream and talk to you guys. So again, I appreciate it. I love doing this. I love interacting with you guys. You guys continually, bring up really interesting points that I don't even consider, and I'm glad that you guys enjoy it as well. So we're on our way to 24,000 subscribers. We're getting there. It's been a journey to get there, but I'm glad to almost be at 24 and then soon after 25, and that'll be a really cool accomplishment. Be a quarter of the way to 100. So like I said, I'll be back on later if I can. If something happens, I'll be around. Thank you guys for coming out. Like I said, a little bit longer this time than normal. Turn on notifications so you don't miss it if I go live later today. Again, Diffuse, I really appreciate the dono. I don't know why it's not popping up at the bottom. I'll try and fix that for later. Doc, I might do a Twitch stream. I'm just trying to keep up my YouTube stuff and not get behind. But I'll try, Doc. I'll try sometime soon. Tommy, thank you, bud. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. You guys have a good evening or morning or day, whatever time it is for you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.